And with that, we will launch into our first talk. And we have Alex Grieco from Audinate, who is going to be giving a presentation on the Dante Application Library. And take it away, Alex. And while Alex is getting set up, I will just remind you, if you have questions, please feel free to submit those in the chat. And also, and we'll ask them after the talk. And just to help me see them, be sure to preface them with question and the word question in all caps. So yes, please go ahead, Alex.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Can everyone hear me? Is that?
Yes, all good.
All right, great. Thanks. I'm Alex Grieco with Audinate. And today we're going to talk about building an AV over IP ecosystem and subtitled this presentation, Dante Everywhere equals Dante Anywhere. And that's really our focus in expanding the Dante universe and Dante ecosystem. So we'll talk about a couple of options and maybe potential for you to integrate in your products, in your applications. So as I said, my name is Alex Grieco. My role is account manager at Audinate, and I work exclusively with audio software developers, really trying to build those partnerships and relationships. We have a strong set of colleagues that I work with that maintain our relationships with hardware manufacturers or OEMs, where we've built a strong relationship. Before we get into any of the technical details and more of the Audinate products, I wanted to share a little bit about my own signal chain. Share here, I'm using a Shure SM58 mic, rock solid, going through an Avitran breakout box. This is a Dante device that, as you can see here in the image, it has network ports and audio connections. So I've plugged the microphone in, and the output going to my headphones comes all through that box. But that actually connects to my router in my home network here. Certainly in a larger environment, you would have more robust equipment. But that router then provides connection to my laptops on the network. So as I'm connected to Zoom here, the audio from the microphone goes through the box, gets mixed for my headphones, my loop back or my own feedback, could go to the second machine for recording or a separate broadcast, and then go through my primary machine for this event. So just to paint the picture, there's what we're looking at here with Dante and Audinate is really taking audio and video and putting it on the network. So we'll dig into that a little deeper and talk about what is Dante and who is Audinate, the company that makes Dante. We'll talk about links to a computer. We'll talk about software solutions that we have in the market and you may have used already, and use cases and benefits of implementing Dante in your devices and applications. We'll certainly have time for questions as well. So let's jump right in. So to give you a little bit of background about the company, Audinate was formed in Australia, headquartered in Australia, and really started by network engineers with the goal of serving the audio video industry. And the objective was to develop a fully interoperable solution for manufacturers, so not proprietary and not limited to a single type of device or type of implementation. And as we click through here, you can see there's an example of a live event where you may encounter existing Dante devices where the mixing board, for example, or inputs on a stage, preamps and inputs on the stage are all networked. And by connecting all of those devices, now you have the ability to route the audio and video from anywhere to anywhere within this environment. And on top of that, you have the ability to manage the timing and synchronization between these devices. So playing out video to multiple screens becomes much more manageable using the Dante solution. Same with audio to multiple speaker sets or multiple devices for recording and playback. And if we peel the onion just a bit, go a little bit deeper in how this is all accomplished, really, the first step is packetizing the audio data. And that's, under the covers, what is happening with Dante solutions. And that data is being encapsulated into standard IP packets and transmitted on a standard Ethernet network. And really where those packets then are encapsulated, and we're managing the header information and being able to decipher and decode that information with low latency on the networks. That's really where the advantage comes in, over just packetized audio. Being able to manage that audio and then set up routing from one to many devices on the network is really where the Dante solution becomes interoperable, across devices and across mediums, whether it's hardware or software. So if you're familiar with Audinate and the Dante solution, you may have heard of some of the hardware chips that we've manufactured for going on 15 years, over 15 years now, building up this product base and integration with manufacturers' products. So these chipsets get embedded into existing products that you may know of today. And we're expanding, certainly always expanding, with more solutions for higher channel counts, solutions to access more widely available hardware like Linux and ARM processors, and solutions for audio and video coming into availability, and being implemented in devices already. As we look into software, and again, if you're familiar with Dante, you may have heard of some of these solutions. The Dante Virtual Sound Card is an application that runs on Mac and Windows and effectively acts as a sound card, like it's titled, to allow you to send audio or transmit audio to the Dante network, and similarly allow you to receive audio from the Dante network. Dante Via is another application that takes the concept of Dante Virtual Sound Card in being able to send and receive audio, but also gives you routing capabilities between your local applications. So being able to take audio from Zoom, for example, and route that to DAW for recording, or being able to take audio from a playback media player and sending that to multiple destinations, either on the same machine or other devices on the Dante network. And what we're really excited about is the Dante Application Library. That's taking the functionality of Dante software and providing that in an SDK that you can use to implement Dante into your applications. And we'll look at that in detail today. The Dante AV solutions are quickly being developed and expanded. So we've got a few offerings that are now in the market, and you may see those. There are cameras available from Bolin and Patton, and decoders and encoders. So these devices work on your existing Dante networks, and we're starting to see this convergence and excellent opportunities with audio and video on the same network. So certainly want to make sure everyone's aware that Dante is audio and video. And the vision, the roadmap here is to expand those solutions so that they are complementary. Everything that you've come to expect from Dante Audio, you will be able to expect and more from Dante Video and Audio together. And all of the solutions come into the network get controlled or get managed through a series of applications. The Dante controller, which is to manage routing and subscriptions between devices, and Dante Domain Manager, which allows you to establish connections between different segments of your networks or different subnets in large implementations, and allows you to enforce access and control policies, and really allows you to take the audio video solution and really complete the offering and really turn it into a full IT type of solution, a fully managed solution. And from Audinate, the company, we're providing the engineering behind all of this technology, training with a really robust certification program that I strongly recommend, and an amazing support team that works with end users, integrators, manufacturers, developers like yourselves. So yeah, we certainly encourage everyone to learn more about Dante, and I invite you to look at the certification program as a great way to get up to speed. So with that, let's look a little bit more in detail about Dante and computers. And really, up to this point, we're all probably familiar with using USB and Bluetooth devices to connect to our hardware and software, which has been a viable solution, but certainly poses limitations, especially when compared to a networked audio solution. As you look into more professional applications and professional gear, we have more demanding requirements as opposed to a single point-to-point connection or a single device connecting to a single application. We've also developed several hardware components or devices that allow you to connect mobile devices or small analog channel counts. These are called Dante AV devices, and these are used with they actually have the Ultimo chip. So looking at our hardware devices or hardware solutions, and these devices are used to connect different formats, whether it's already digital like USB or Bluetooth in this case, or analog formats, converting to and from the Dante network. So it allows you to easily retrofit analog gear to your Dante network. We previously mentioned Dante Virtual Sound Card, and here I'll show you a screenshot and talk about some of the features. So one of the biggest advantages is that it's very simple and lean, and it performs a very specific purpose of transmitting and receiving Dante audio on the network. It appears as a sound card under ASIO or WDM or Core Audio on Mac, and it provides 4 milliseconds latency, which is critical if you're playing back audio or synchronizing audio across the network. Another software solution from Audinate is the Dante Via application, and this application provides the same functionality in terms of transmitting and receiving audio from the Dante network, and also allowing you the ability to transmit and route audio between applications on the local machine, as well as make those applications Dante enabled or Dante available, so to speak. So turning on Dante for an application makes that application then visible on the network. So you can subscribe or establish a connection from another device or another machine on your network. But as we look into these, there's a few similarities and a few differences, and ultimately there may be some limitations depending on your use case. The applications are specific. DVS is really highly tuned and tailored toward sending and receiving audio. Via is really tuned toward routing and flexibility, but there's trade-offs in both of those solutions. Furthermore, you can only run DVS or Via, and you can only run one at a time on a machine. So again, we get, in some cases, the feedback that we've received is, that could be a limitation in certain environments. So what if we could do all of those things with Dante and not even have to leave your application, and users could do all of this without having to ask administrators to install software like DVS or Via, in corporate environments or in large enterprise environments or educational systems, without requiring any special knowledge or any extra steps. All of those features can be made available with the Dante Application Library. Furthermore, you can run multiple instances. So every piece of software, and even multiple pieces of software, if you have a suite, for example, can incorporate Dante and allow transferring audio between those instances. Dante Application Library is delivered as a library, a C++ library, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And really, further than the technical details, we've talked about the hardware solutions and how we've grown the user base and Dante ecosystem already on the hardware side. We have over 3,000 products that have been brought to market, and using Dante really and Dante Application Library can dramatically reduce any confusion or extra steps that users have to take. So for example, a conferencing system that can automatically identify Dante microphones and speakers in a conference room and make those connections really simplifies the experience for the user that is joining a conference call. They don't want to deal with making subscriptions and setting sample rates and doing technical bits. So yeah, a little bit more about the application library itself. It's available for Mac and Windows. It allows up to 64 by 64 channels per instance, and you can run multiple instances, so something to consider there. Currently supports 48 kilohertz sample rate, with soon adding 96 and 192. Minimum latency is 4 milliseconds, and that's again for that deterministic latency, which provides value in synchronizing sources and playback destinations. So it works with all of the existing hardware and software that's already in the market, and really comes in three parts. The instance API is used to create a Dante device on the network. Now, this is a virtual device. It's your application, or it's a component that you're running that appears like a Dante device on the network. And then the audio API is used to access those audio samples and put audio on the network or take audio off the network. And then further, really above and beyond what we've talked about with Dante Via and Virtual Sound Card, which exists today, the Connections API allows you to programmatically manage and maintain connections between your Dante instance, your DAL instance, and devices on the network. So in that example of a conferencing solution, you bring up the conferencing application, and the application can automatically detect Dante devices that are available and essentially pair those devices. And so managing and maintaining those connections. That's really an advantage over the existing software solutions, or the Audinate software solutions of DVS and Via. So as we said, it's a code library. It's delivered, it's C++, and we provide example code and documentation for anyone that wants to use the library. And it's licensed with an OEM or ISV access token. We can talk more about that model. We have different scenarios that we'd be happy to talk through in terms of how we make this available to end users. If it's something you want to embed in the product, if it's something you want to make the product Dante ready, and then have users really sign up for what they need in terms of channel count and requirements and features. And we certainly provide support to you as developers and independent software vendors. We want to make sure that you're building software that's successful in the market, and further our existing support in terms of marketing efforts, leveraging the existing user base and getting information about Dante ready products out to the market is something that we do already, and we would be happy to provide for any partners that are looking to develop Dante ready products. We've talked about some use cases already, so just to maybe highlight those or put some specific examples on the screen. We certainly see an opportunity and need for Dante specific productivity tools, or maybe more simply utilities, monitoring Dante audio and video on the network, or any sort of conversion or bridges to online services are certainly popular solutions that we've seen. And then, retrofitting existing media server and conferencing applications, and building into lecture and courtroom recording. Certainly a lot of opportunities and use cases where we've heard from customers and we've heard from developers that are building and interested in building more of these solutions with Dante ready capabilities. Some that are already in the market, we can share here. Zoom Rooms is a conferencing solution that incorporates Dante and automatically identifies speakers and microphones and makes connections. The IntelliMix Room software from Shure is effectively a DSP solution that allows you to combine multiple audio sources and provides various DSP functionality like noise cancellation or feedback suppression, those types of functions that you would expect in conferencing software. And Christie Digital they build projectors and they provide, alongside those projectors, a media server application called Pandora's Box. So they've built Dante Application Library directly into Pandora's Box so that their software is tightly integrated with the output devices that are their projectors, as well as any video screens, as well as audio devices for playback or microphones for capture. And they can control all of that in their application. So we've got some great feedback from the product manager at Christie Digital, Marcus Seppenfield. And really they've been able to take their application and integration to a new level, which really simplifies the user's experience. And for them, that's operators, that's somebody in a production environment under stress who just needs it to work. So we're really happy about that. We invite everyone to try the Dante Application Library. There's a free evaluation on the website. So if you go to audinate.com/DAL or scan this QR code, there is a registration, and then we'll provide an access token for you to use with the SDK, and that'll let you look at the example applications and also immediately embed the SDK into your application to really kind of see what the potential might be, and we'd be happy to discuss your use cases and any any potential uses that you may find. So I think that's everything. I'll go back to leave this out, but certainly open it up for questions.
Thank you so much, Alex. Really interesting talk. We have 2 questions so far, and I'll give a couple more minutes for other people to ask any questions. Looks like we have some more coming through as I'm speaking. So please ask any more questions in the chat. So first question is from Lori, who asks, can you say something about the Dante licensing model for small business hardware developers? Are you open to small manufacturers of Dante-enabled hardware?
Yes, and thank you, Lori. So historically, being a hardware company, Audinate is very much operated on a royalty type of model. So we're certainly familiar and open to discuss that type of option. But as we expand and work more on software and embedding software, that gives us more opportunities to work on different types of models, whether that's a model where you build Dante into your application and then can turn over to Audinate the responsibility for licensing, or pass through that responsibility. So ultimately, we can work with you to get started with low or no barrier to entry, and then ultimately work with you so that there's not any so that the model is appropriate. It fits your business in the best that it can. We have multiple options, and really can even talk about how we could leverage our own marketing potential and user base, where we already sell software to end users. So there's a garden, so to speak, a market there already that we can we can talk about working together to bring products out.
Great. We have a question from Chris, our very own Chris Roberts. And somebody had answered this, but it'd be great to hear your take on it. Are there Dante specific routers that manage the QoS of Dante packets?
No, and we're really router agnostic. We're working on just general IP, so just standard networks. No required devices. There are recommendations that we can make about how you would configure quality of service and how you would set up your environment for the best performance, or really to meet your goals, whether that's performance or redundancy or a combination of everything. But yeah, no specific networking requirements, and that's really one of the main differentiators in Dante as a whole.
Great. And there are a couple questions from Tugrel. What kind of protocol does Dante use at the IP layer? A similar type of RTP, like iPhone, or a new protocol that has been developed? And does it use compression algorithms for numerous channels?
No compression. The audio is PCM. So the no compression or effects on the audio. I guess the technology itself is, or the protocol is really the proprietary part. The audio packets aren't anything magic. It's just PCM audio sliced up. It's the headers that are really the special part, and being able to decipher those headers and use that information to route the audio quickly is really what makes the Dante solution unique, and really, it's effectively our own protocol at that point. But we don't like to call it a protocol; it's a solution, because we have the devices that know what to do with that audio with those packets.
Okay. And there's another question from Tugrel. Are there any restrictions on switches and routers used between Dante devices? For example, how many routers can be in between Dante devices?
No hard and fast restrictions. What we've found is every switch that you add or router that you add generally adds about 1 millisecond of latency, and or at minimum, I guess is what we would say, depending on what it's doing and the load that it has. But adding more network hops increases the latency latency, but otherwise does not affect performance or functionality. And there's no specific requirements. Lots of general off the shelf routers and switches work. Certainly standard enterprise scale routers and switches work. And we have some documentation on our website for specific models, Cisco's, for example, and what you would configure, what we would recommend.
Great. George asks, is the FPGA solution targeted mostly at video, or does audio play into it as well?
So yeah, the AV, the Dante AV chips do carry audio. I believe it's 8 channels. I would have to confirm that. So audio and video is the intent, and they will be, that'll give you the ability to synchronize that audio and video, which we realize is important. You have to, in most cases, delay the audio to match up with your video.
Okay. And we have a question from Bitcher. Now moving Dante to the software realm for applications. Is there anything that you're working on that is related to using it in the cloud?
I don't know if I'm officially allowed to talk about it, but maybe that gives you some
clues.
Yeah, something to look forward to. We recognize the prevalence of the cloud and the benefits of those cloud-based solutions. And really what I'm seeing, I can tell you, a lot of customers that are building cloud solutions are talking to us about building bridges, Dante bridges, to take audio from a Dante network to a cloud production service, for example. So what we might imagine is what is a large or multiple unit production truck on site today may shrink down, and some of that gets distributed in different ways. The Olympics, as an example, having commentators not necessarily on site is something that we see more and more. So the Dante Application Library becomes a critical component to get the audio on and off the Dante network, and then into your format and into your cloud and into your solution. We recognize that, and we recognize that we can help facilitate that as well. So yeah, certainly stay tuned.
Great. Steve Dwyer, hi Steve, asks, have you created Wireshark definitions for these headers to aid debugging network traffic?
I'm not aware of those, but I can certainly check with the engineering team. I would, just want to make sure that we're not exposing any proprietary details in those, but yeah, it sounds like something reasonable.
Okay. And I think that, this has been answered already, but Malcolm asks, is there anything stopping him from using this in a virtual machine? So virtual machine, I'm thinking in the cloud, or yeah. Are we talking, or maybe he's thinking something.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the existing Dante software licensing model, where it's a node locked license, and that's where we start by default in our discussions about Dante Application Library. When we get into virtual machines, that could potentially pose a problem. So we would want to know a little bit more about how you're using the virtual machine. We recognize that there's value in even reducing a hardware footprint, running multiple VMs on one piece of hardware. That's different than scaling with VMs to accommodate load. So we want to make sure the licensing is commensurate with the usage. So by default, we start with a node lock license, but we are flexible, and we do understand that in a virtual environment, we don't want to have to make you pay for a license every time you reboot your virtual machine and it looks slightly different, even though it's the same machine. Or we don't want to be taken advantage of if you're scaling up and you buy one license and run 10. So we have to balance that, but we're happy to talk through it.
Great. That looks like all the questions that we have for now. Thank you very much, Alex. Looks like a great response. And
thanks for having us.
Fantastic.